If you go with me to Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. God put Adam in the garden. Adam is the new man. He's a new species of being. He's a wonderful creation of God. At this point in time, doesn't have a fallen nature. God comes down every day in the cool of the day just to walk with him and talk with him, just to have fellowship. And in verse 17, beginning in verse 16, he says, he commanded man, saying, "Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die." So, if you were in the bushes on the day when Eve brought back fruit from that tree, and she'd eaten it, and she brought it back to Adam, and she gave it to him, and he ate it, in that moment he died. But if you're in the bushes watching, you wouldn't have seen him keel over. You wouldn't have seen him fall to the ground, holding his throat, gagging, turning different colors and dying. That didn't happen. He died. He died in that instant, just like God said. He said, if you eat of it, you shall surely die. He died. And the way that was evident is when God came down in the cool of the day, Adam heard God coming. I wonder what God was doing that he heard, He heard God coming. Was God singing? Was God whistling? Was he breaking branches and crashing through the trees? He heard him coming like he always heard him coming. I think he was singing. I think he could hear the Lord singing, "This is the day, this is the day." Something like that. Anyway, he heard him coming, and he hid himself from him and was ashamed. He was fearful. He said, "I was afraid." And God began asking him questions and found out, even though God knew, he wanted to extract that confession from Adam. But he died spiritually, and from that time on, there's no more fellowship between him and God. Adam lives another 930 years after he ate the fruit, and saw all his children that came out of his relationship with Eve. He saw them populate the earth, and Adam never repented. He never asked God to forgive him. In a sense, I think, because there was really no concept of forgiveness. God wasn't offering it. It wasn't being taught. There was no real... the concept of forgiveness came a little later. Adam never sought it. He never asked for it. God never offered it. Adam would have known of Noah's dad. So that's a long period of time. He might have possibly even heard Noah preach. It's possible, I don't know. But certainly he lived up until the time of Noah's dad. Adam never repented, but he never had his job. He lost his position in the garden. He lost his authority. He was given dominion. He lost that. He lost the glory of the Lord. He lost the presence of God. He lost that close fellowship of God coming down and talking with him. I don't think God came down every day and said, "Hey, what did you name today, Adam?" I know it was based on work. I think they actually spent time together, talking, relating to each other, just like close friends would relate to each other. And all that was lost. And then Adam had children, and he has two sons, and they're fighting over worship. What was the right way to honor God and worship God? And one kills the other over worship. If there's only two churches in Penn, they might not even get along. They might fight over worship, because that fallen nature is in those churches, that work in those churches to keep them apart. It's what causes church splits. It's what causes denominationalism. The root of denominationalism is a fallen nature that wants to be the one that's right and the only one that's right, and everyone else is wrong. I'm the only one that's right. That's fruit of the fallen nature. Well, what Adam saw, he saw his kids kill each other, and his grandkids begin killing each other. And for the next 900 years, the world looked like Vikings and biker gangs and drug cartels. It looked like the mafia was running the earth. I mean, it was hell on earth. People were killing each other. Some marauders would come through. They'd see that you build a nice little house, you got a beautiful wife, you got a beautiful garden, and they would just take it because they could. And what can you do about it? There's no law. It's a period called lawlessness, which we're experiencing in America again. And in the last days, lawlessness is going to abound. Lawlessness is you do whatever you want to do whatever you feel like doing, and there's no one who can stop you. There's no consequences. So back then, this is before the law of Moses, and so there was, you could sleep with your sister because there was no law that forbid it. You could kill somebody because there was no law that says thou shalt not kill. And take whatever you want and live any way you want to because there's no consequences. But it was so terrible that the flesh hijacked man's mechanism to imagine. When God gave us a powerful imagination, and when the flesh took over the imagination, whatever it could imagine, it would do. So it would imagine the most heinous torture and then do it. And that mechanism was something God put in man for man to live by faith, to be prophetic, to do great things, and it's now being so degraded, it's being used by the flesh to hurt other people. And it was so terrible. I'll tell you how terrible this environment was. God said, I'm gonna scrub it all, and we're gonna start all over. I'm gonna eliminate everybody and everything, and just start all over. He wasn't thinking of fixing it. He wasn't thinking of redeeming it. He wasn't thinking of restoring anything. He just said, I'm gonna send a flood and destroy everything that lives and everything that moves. We're gonna destroy it all. And I found one guy in all the earth who wants to be right with me, and I'm going to save him and his family, and one of every species, and we're going to put them, and we're going to save them, and we're going to start all over again. And shortly after he started all over again, he sent the law, and the law established that if you kill someone, you will die. You'll lose your life for doing this. There had to be super strict consequences for everything that happened. Otherwise, man's fallen nature would just continue to rule and reign, and there would be nothing to check it. So he said, well, the things that will check it, if they thought they were going to die, maybe that would check it. If they thought the fallen nature realized there's going to be pain, there's going to be punishment, there's going to be a price to be paid, maybe that would act as a deterrent from their flesh just running everything again. And so he come up with a law, and it had to be swift. So if you did this, immediately there'd be a judgment against you. There'd be pain for you and your family. And sometimes the whole family would all suffer the same thing because of your mistake. And it was the way God was trying to retard within man that powerful carnal nature that was just so bent on doing whatever it wanted to do. If it thought about it, man, I don't want that punishment. I don't want that pain. I don't want that response from God. So I'm not gonna give in to my flesh. And it was the only thing that could check it until Jesus came and then gave us an alternative nature that we could yield to, so we didn't have to do what our fallen nature did. It's a profound thing. The way he did that is interesting. He sent Jesus, but he didn't have Jesus born through the Son of Man, through Adam. He bypassed Adam, and God himself got Mary pregnant, so that Jesus could be born without a fallen nature. So he didn't have the fallen nature of man. He didn't have the flesh of man, so he could become a sacrifice. At the same time, he was tempted. So if he gave in to one temptation, he could never have been the Savior of the world. He could never have been the sacrifice. All he had to do was say yes one time, and it was over. Amazing, amazing thing that God wanted to change man's nature, and he had to use Jesus without flesh to be able to do that. That's the whole purpose of the most amazing story, the Christmas story, how God bypassed Adam. Profound. So let's go back in our study. I want to talk about You Shall Surely Die in this next segment.